The President of the United States picks up the phone. The other end, it's Moshe from a little moshav outside Tel Aviv. Mr. President, this is Moshe here. I want you to know that the members of the First Minyan have decided to declare war on the United States of America. We have my cousin, Yankel, Feta Moshe, and all the members of the First Minyan. So in total, we've got about 18 people ready to declare war. The President is somewhat amused and he says, "Excuse me? Do you know I've got 1 million soldiers ready to go to war at a moment's notice?" Moshe thinks to himself, "I wasn't aware of that. I'll have to get back to you tomorrow." Sure enough, the next day, Moshe calls the President and he says, "Mr. President, the war is still on. We've got the second minyan coming. That brings our numbers up to about 30, 35. We've also got some equipment. We've got a few tractor trailers. We're ready to go." President says, "Moshe, I forgot to tell you, I've got 15,000 tanks. I've got about 14,000 fighter jets. And I made a mistake in the calculations, not 1 million, I've actually got 2 million soldiers ready to go to war." Moshe says, "Wait a minute, Mr. President, I will have to call you back." Sure enough, a few hours later, Moshe calls back and he says, "Mr. President, we've decided we're not going to war." President, somewhat bemused, said, "What happened? Why the change of heart?" "We had a very, very serious meeting and we realized there is no way that we can feed 2 million prisoners." I believe that whenever a couple get engaged, they should do a course called Rules of Engagement. And in actual fact, everyone should do that course unless you live on a desert island. I don't believe anyone is challenged when it comes to communicate with somebody that you love, somebody you care for, somebody that you admire. The challenge, however, is what happens when you're very angry with that person? How do you communicate to somebody that you admire and you love, and at this moment you're so angry with them? And the way that we do communicate, or we should communicate, will have a great bearing on what type of relationship we will actually have with them. In this week's portion, this week's Torah reading, the Torah actually gives us the tools to help navigate this minefield. The Torah tells us that you should not despise, you should not hate your fellow man. Then in the same verse, the Torah then says, you shall rebuke your fellow man. And then it concludes, and you shall not place sin upon them. Rules of engagement. Rule number 1. Never rebuke someone when you are so angry with them that you can't stand them. You know, there was this great rabbi that whenever he was angry with someone and he felt he needed to rebuke them, he would put on his angry jacket. He had in his cupboard a jacket. And when he got angry, he would go to his cupboard, take out the jacket, he would put it on, and by the time he did that, he had somewhat calmed down, and he was in a better frame of mind to rebuke that individual. Look, we all know that if our children do something wrong, we get angry, and we do need to tell them and reprimand them. But we should never do it when we've got steam coming out of our ears. More than likely, it'll be counterproductive, and at best, it will be a quick fix. And that's what the verse is telling us. The verse tells us, do not hate your fellow man. And then it says, you shall surely rebuke them. Never rebuke somebody if you've got anger in your heart against them. It's just not going to work. Rule number 2, when it comes to rules of engagement. And this is a tough one. Never denigrate the individual. Speak to the act, not to the person. Never say you're a terrible person. Rather say that which you did was inappropriate. You know, in Yiddish, there's an expression, it's called es passt nicht. Say to the individual, it's below your dignity. I didn't expect that from you. You know, there was this teacher, incredible, a marvelous teacher. She came into her classroom the first day of the year. She wrote the name of every student on the board, and next to it she put the letter A. And she said to her students, each and every one of you have received on your report card an A. All you need to do till the end of the year is to keep the consistent good level that I know that you're able to achieve. And interestingly enough, at the end of the year, every single student had indeed received the letter A. And that's what the verse is telling us. The verse reads, "You shall rebuke your fellow man, but you shall not place sin upon him." When you're rebuking somebody, don't make the person to be wicked. Don't place sin upon him. Rather speak to the act, not to the person. It may seem strange, but the key to a successful relationship is not to learn how to agree, but rather to learn how to disagree.